I don't know. Okay. First Steelers recap game of the year. Okay, before I hop into it, podcast is happening. I don't know what's going on with my rendering, but it's been taking like 3 days to render a 1 hour podcast. So it will be coming out, don't worry. But we're going to talk about the Steelers. So I do have a lot of thoughts on this game. One, okay, can we just say we did just open the season playing possibly the best defense in the NFL and the best offensive mind in the NFL? Can we just start off with that before we really rip into the Steelers? And don't worry, I'm going to. But we need to acknowledge that it's not like we just started the season against the rookie-led Panthers or the tanking Cardinals, who are not even really tanking right now and playing their hearts out. It's not like we opened up against a horrible offense and a horrible defense. The Niners are a team that are projected to be the second best team in the NFC and possibly even make a run against the Eagles as the best team in the NFC. Let's get that out of the way first. That's basically the reality of the situation and all I have to address about that. Now, oh, man. Okay. There was not a lot of good to take out of this. The only good I can think about this game is Landon Roberts looked good. George Pickens is still making godly catches. That's literally all I can think about. The offense, we'll talk about that first because that's obviously going to be the key here, considering at one point there was 200 total yards in the entire game by both teams. 199, by the way, were the Niners. Yeah, there was a point. The Niners had 199 total yards, and the Steelers had 1. So that's amazing. But I'm going to talk about the offense first. And listen, I know that it's a joke and like a bit in the Steelers community to just blame Matt Canada for everything. But I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. The Steelers, after that, I don't care that it was the best defense in the NFL. After what we just saw, there has to be a real conversation to fire Matt Canada, okay? I'm not going to lie. During the preseason, I was seeing these packages we were coming out of and these different plays we were running, and I was like, finally. We are finally going to get away from this horrible Matt Canada offense that we've seen for the last 2.5 years, and we're finally going to try new things because we have a quarterback that can run the system. And then they bamboozled me and did, on the third play of the game, I'm pretty sure, a jet sweep. And that's when I knew that this game was not going to be a fun game to sit through. I was texting Zach, the co-host of my podcast, and this is what I said, talking about Matt Canada. And I would love, please, anyone in the comments tell me I'm wrong here, okay? I want to take some hope, all right? And also, while talking about Matt Canada, I'm not excusing what Kenny does. I'll talk about Kenny in a little bit, okay? This is what I texted Zach. I said, in Canada's first year, everyone blamed the stagnant offense on an old Big Ben. The one positive in the offense, the 2 minutes where the quarterback is the okay play caller. Anytime in Matt Canada's first year, we had a positive moment with the offense, it was always within the last 2 minutes of either the fourth or the second quarter. Okay? That's because, guess what? Most of the time, the offensive coordinator does not have play calling duties in the 2 minutes because when you're running the no huddle, they don't have enough time to get plays called down to the quarterback. The quarterback is the playmaker in that decision. They run the play, and if the play stays in bounds, they have to run no huddle. The quarterback has to evaluate what just happened on the field, watch whatever substitutions happen, if any, on the defensive side, and then adjust the offense from there. Guess where Pittsburgh had actual life today? Once throughout the entire game, in the last 2 minutes. We'll talk about that in a second. But that was Matt Canada's first year. And everyone blamed Ben Roethlisberger. Oh, he's old. He can't move. Matt Canada's offense needs a somewhat mobile quarterback, and Big Ben is past his time. That's the issue. Okay, fine. Fast forward to year 2 of Matt Canada's system. We get a rookie, Kenny Pickett. Everyone's like, all right, cool. We have a because Kenny was way more mobile than Ben was. And I'm not saying he's Lamar Jackson, but he's also not Phillip Rivers when it comes to athleticism. He obviously had the unforgettable play in the bowl game where he faked the slide like that. Kenny is athletic. So everyone sees Kenny coming in and they're like, all right, cool. This is going to be able to run Matt Canada's system. There might be some struggles, but this is where Matt Canada is going to thrive. And I continuing my text with Zach, I said, Matt Canada's second year, everyone blamed a rookie and young quarterback having to adjust to the speed of the game. The one positive in the offense, the 2-minute drill where the quarterback is the play caller. Now, let's fast forward to the first game of Matt Canada's third year. What have we seen? We have seen the same okay, please tell me why you are down. I think it was 7-20 at this point. No, 7-27, I'm pretty sure at this point. We're down by 20 points. It was second and like 12. We ran a draw. I know you need to establish a run game and get like confidence going within certain players. You need to get them going. I understand that. But when it's early into the second half and there still is a chance and you're down by 20, if you're running a draw, you are literally telling the defense, hey, by the way, we're really not going to care about this drive. And you're telling the offense, we don't trust you guys to throw this ball down the field. Or maybe it's just the fact that our offensive coordinator is an incompetent man who needs to go back to college football, because I never want to vouch for somebody getting fired because that's a person's job. That's their livelihood. You don't want someone to lose that. Matt Canada should go back to college football. I'm not going to say he thrived in college football, but he was more successful there because he honestly wasn't even that good in college football either. But it's just, I don't understand. Like, the commentators talking about, oh, they really have gone away from the run in this game. Well, yeah, when you're down 17-0 before halftime, you're going to go away from the run. And, okay. Anyways, so the one positive of the game was the 2-minute drill worked because Kenny was literally evaluating the thing. And that's the one thing that everyone has always talked positively about Kenny with, is his ability to evaluate a play as it develops, especially within drives. Kenny's football IQ is very good. I'll talk about the interceptions later, don't worry. But literally, as we were running that 2-minute offense right before the second half ended, Kenny was putting it all together, man. And so I got to give Kenny some props there. I guess that's another positive I can take out of this game. But we are watching the same thing for the third year. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Or whatever it is. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I need to fire you. That's how the Steelers should be approaching Matt Canada right now. I know the defense gave up 27 points, but I'm going to make the same argument that I've made for the last 2 years, which is now a very fair argument to make considering we are seeing nothing but consistency with this. It is hard to stop an offense as a defense when you're always on the field. When you're always on the field, you are not getting a breather. TJ Watt had, I think, 3.5 sacks this game. He literally tied the Steelers franchise record, and 2 forced fumbles, one of which he recovered. Okay, think about that. A single player on the defense who is arguably like always in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. He had 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery, and the team lost by 23 points. A single player on the defense. If I would have told you that, you would have thought maybe someone else on the defense had a pick, and that this game would have, if the team lost, they would have lost by like a game-winning field goal or something. Not by 23 points. So that's where I'm going to give the defense somewhat of a pass. The secondary did look cooked. I don't understand that. Also, I don't ever understand Pittsburgh loving the idea of putting a linebacker on a slot receiver. Pittsburgh has done that for forever. I don't know if we're ever going to go away from that. We've done that between like 3 defensive coordinators by this point. But anyways, finishing off the Matt Canada thing, literally Albert Einstein said it best. Insanity is the act of repeating the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Matt Canada's offense has done the same thing over and over and over again and expected a different result over and over and over again. The offense, basically by that definition, is insane, and I agree with that. If we played every game how we play in that 2-minute drill, we would be putting up 30 points minimum a game. I understand the love and the respect for an offense that likes to run the clock. It's very smart, especially when you have a great defense like Pittsburgh does. And we saw that the second half of last year. Pittsburgh was running the ball somewhat efficiently, much more efficiently in the first half of the season, and they were running the clock, and they were using the clock to their advantage. But if you still look at those games Pittsburgh was winning last year, they were not blowouts. They were always close games. If you look at the best teams in the NFL right now, if you look at the Chiefs, it's going to be hard to bring the Ravens into this because they're in a new offensive system this year, but I'm just going to talk about historically over the last couple of years. If you look at the Chiefs, if you look at the Ravens, if you look at the 49ers, if you look at if you look at the Eagles last year, these are teams that do not define their offense by one type of system. These are teams that use their offense differently every single week based on whatever defense they're playing. But these are also offenses that are going to push the ball down the field no matter what. Literally no matter what. It doesn't matter. And Pittsburgh needs to get that idea. Like, I love the idea of us using 9 minutes of the first quarter and using our first drive to take that much time off the clock and then scoring a touchdown. But it's not the reality of our situation right now. That's not a one-game bias for this season. That is a 3-season bias over the last 3 years with Matt Canada. Obviously, I'm only using one game as the sample for this year. But that's a 3-season sample essentially right there, and it's not working. Pittsburgh needs to embrace this like fast-paced no-huddle offense and use that, because it's the only time we ever have life into our team. What are the 2 games last year that everybody remembers about Kenny, and like which is what gave everyone hope about Kenny Pickett? It was the Raiders game and the Ravens game. No one remembers or thinks about the first 3 quarters of those games. What does everyone remember? They remember the game-winning drives. With the Raiders game, I'm pretty sure we scored with like 43 seconds left, and the Ravens game we scored with like 16 seconds left. Both of which makes that 2-minute drills, which means Kenny was running the offense, and I just don't understand how Art Rooney and the Steelers organization can look at Matt Canada and what this offense has done over the last 2 years. Fine. Okay, Ben was retiring. Rookie quarterback. You look at today's result, and you see the exact same thing the last 3 years. And I'm not going to blame Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin is I hate it when people say that he should be fired, because he would get hired within 30 seconds of being fired. And he's what keeps this team together, essentially. The last year's team does not finish above 500 if it's not for Mike Tomlin. What's going to happen is Matt Canada is going to fail Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is a good quarterback. I'm going to say that. I know it was preseason. You don't have a perfect passer rating against grown men playing. I don't care if you're a third string, fourth string. There's someone much better than the other 95% of the world trying to become a professional athlete, and you have a perfect pass rating against that. That is something to take away. I saw, what was it? Only 3 quarterbacks for like the last 7 seasons have had a perfect passer. I think it was since 2010 have had a perfect passer rating in the preseason. I can't remember who the third one was, but I know the other one was Josh Allen. All 3 were really top tier quarterbacks. So Kenny has the pieces when he's using a different system. That's literally what preseason showed us. Preseason showed us when you don't use Matt Canada's regular season offense, the offense can be successful. But when you're using what offense we use in the regular season, it's not going to be successful. I just don't understand it. And I'll stop talking about the offense at this point. I'll talk about Kenny for a quick second. Kenny, the 2 interceptions were not good decisions on his part, especially the second one. I get he was trying to throw somewhat of a touch pass over Fred Warner, so maybe he just didn't get it high enough as he wanted it to, because if he did get it over Fred Warner, I think it was intended for Connor Hayward. Connor Hayward probably would have caught it. The first interception, though, you're throwing into, I think it was double, and there was a third defender coming in, so almost triple coverage, so that's not a very good decision either. But again, maybe you're just trying to make a play. I would have to go back and look at the all-22 to like really see what happened, but I'm not going to give Kenny a pass, and I'm not going to blame Matt Canada for those interceptions. But other than that, though, I mean, Kenny was under pressure the entire time, and you have to abandon the run at a certain point, so the offense has become somewhat one-dimensional. So you kind of do have to recognize that when you're talking about Kenny's performance. Other things to talk about. Cam Hayward's injured. I hope it's not serious, because that man is super important to this team. Deontay got hurt as well. Deontay was having a pretty good game, I'm not going to lie. I know it took the second half to really get going. Okay, another underrated part of the offense was Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, I think, had like 8 receptions. No, I think it was like 6 receptions for 50 yards, which doesn't seem like a lot. But for a guy who's in his first year in the system, I think that's really important, especially if Deontay is going to be out. It looks like Allen Robinson is going to be willing to step up. I already talked about George Pickens. Calvin Austin's pretty good. Our special teams was pretty good for the most part, too. But Anthony McFarland had 2 possible breakout opportunities for a touchdown and kick return, so that was really, really nice to see. But the other injury, obviously, being Deontay. If Deontay isn't too serious, I'm not too worried about it. If it is serious, maybe it's a good thing we traded for Allen Robinson. But I'm just going to wait and hope that Deontay's isn't serious. Next week, is it Cleveland next week? Please don't tell me it's Cleveland next week, because Cleveland just steamrolled Cincinnati. So that's really not going to be encouraging. Sorry, you guys are going to get a quick pause while I look at the schedule for next week. Yeah, we play Cleveland and then the Raiders. Okay, so after Cleveland, it's the Raiders and the Texans. I'm not high on the Raiders, and I'm not high on the Texans, especially after watching them play today. So those 2 should be wins that we should get to maybe get the season going a little bit more and get us kind of into a groove. But man, we have 2 back-to-back primetime games. We have the Browns on Monday Night Football next week, and then we have the Raiders on Sunday Night Football the week after. That sucks. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna say that Pittsburgh needs to tank for Caleb Williams. I'm not gonna say that we need to start figuring out who we're gonna draft because it's a long season. If last year taught Steelers fans anything, it should be that. But I will say the Steelers are failing Kenny Pickett and the fans and the offense in general because I think all of the moves that and Jimmy Garoppolo's hurt. I think all of the moves that Omar Khan, the GM, made were really good moves, and I am loving the way he's assembling this team. But they are not using these pieces that Omar Khan got in a positive way. So if I'm Omar Khan, I'm firing Matt Canada. I am letting anyone else call the plays. I don't understand how you can look at the NFL right now and see that this is clearly an offensive league. Like, you can argue that defense wins championships, which at a point it does, but if you look at the best teams in the league right now, which 2 teams were in the Super Bowl last year? 2 of the best offenses in the league. People like to say the Niners are a defensive team. No, they're not. Their head coach is an offensive-minded head coach. They keep losing all their offensive coordinators and all their offensive minds because their offense is so well put together. They just happen to have a phenomenal defense as well. The Niners are what Pittsburgh should be. We should be saying that. The Niners are exactly what the Pittsburgh should be. The Niners honestly are constructed very similar to the Pittsburgh Steelers. If the Pittsburgh Steelers just knew how to run this offense and had a better offensive coordinator, the Pittsburgh Steelers would be the 49ers every single year. I think I just came to that realization. I think it's a very fair thing to say. So, yeah, if I'm Omar Khan and I'm Art Rooney, I'm firing Matt Canada this week because if you don't, Kenny is going to, I think, fall into a very similar situation with Baker Mayfield, which is like, if they don't fire Matt Canada now, they're going to fire him at the end of the season, and then Kenny's got to go for 2 years in one system, a year in another system, and if that doesn't work out, who knows? So I just think it's time to get rid of Matt Canada and bring in literally anyone else. It's early enough into the season where there's still minds out there. This is why I was very surprised Eric Bieniemy was not thought of when it came to the offensive coordinator this year. I don't see how you could see a mind like that who wasn't going to get a head coaching job, so he wanted a coordinator job, and I'm willing to bet that he would have taken Pittsburgh over Washington every single time. So that's what I'm talking about. That's 18 minutes of ranting, essentially, or 17, however long I've been going. So I'm curious your guys' thoughts, though, what you guys think Pittsburgh. I'm curious what you guys think Pittsburgh needs to do to fix this situation. If you're not a Steelers fan, I'm curious how you perceive this game. Definitely doesn't help my my take that Kenny's a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. I still stand by that. If you swap the 2 situations, I think Kenny probably throws for 300 yards today because the offensive mind of Kyle Shanahan is just that good. But, yeah, we have Cleveland next week, who looked great this week. At least that game is in Pittsburgh. But these next 3 games are going to be very vital for Pittsburgh's identity. If they can bounce back from this and go 3-1, I think that's fine because we have Baltimore after that. And this is an opportunity for us to go 3-1. I think we can beat the Browns. I think we can. We should beat both the Raiders and the Texans. There are no excuses. But if we enter Week 5 against the Raiders 1-3 or 2-2, I think that's pretty unacceptable, and they really do need to make that change. So I don't know. Curious what you guys think. And yeah, like I said, podcast will be up hopefully tonight or tomorrow. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. And I will probably talk to you guys next week. Bye.